This is my sagaponic studio. Nearly every day I begin my work here in the Hamptons. I made the decision to come here during every summer back in 1954, just to know that about 100 other artists I know are here working as I am is a strong creative stimulation that sort of helps you get going. Now I realize to become an artist, it isn't enough to just paint. Now in two parts of the world, I enjoy the camaraderie of artists and writers, and that too is good. Today, the light is fine. A light that this early can't be seen by itself, but only as a brilliant, reflecting element. I cannot, certainly, paint the values in that Polaroid, but perhaps I can gain on its luminosity through color and form, so that it will convey the meaning that I want to bring about. A dialogue that will relate to the feelings I have when I begin to make the first marks on the canvas. And with these first movements of brush and paint, I try to abandon technique and familiarity. I want that initial gesture to be so new to me that it can evoke a real crisis. I want this new beginning to shock and surprise me. I want these marks of matter to erupt into fresh possibilities and to energize the mood within me. I want to accept the power of my first primordial impulse, and that is a large order indeed. I don't like the way people have been taught to look at paintings. Particularly when I see someone who's brought a gang to a museum. He said, now to enjoy this painting, you have to get way back, and they go off into the woods and the wilderness, and then there'll be someone looking and say, oh, don't touch it, don't, no, I mean, you have to get into these paintings, you have to look at them. There are a lot of small things that need to be appreciated. A thing we used to call paint quality, which is now kind of an embarrassment because the Impressionists had such beautiful brushing and delicately put down, that they deserved that application of the idea of paint quality. Today, we don't really care much about paint quality. It's become an idea of what effect have you achieved that deserves a closer look. Mm-hmm. That's part of it. That's listening to a little minor chord in music. It contributes, it's there, it's working. And sometimes you have to get up and look at that. And if you don't feel the painting, you should want to. You should at least want to touch the painting. And particularly if now we are illusionists in the true sense. Painting is an illusion. And if it has the illusion of texture, the painter's a greater magician than if he actually made a third-dimensional illusion. And the idea of people, I mean, little tiny sections. If I wanted to look at this painting, I might say, wow, look at that small painting. Yeah. See, you can make compositions with a trained eye. You can begin to make compositions that are quite beautiful and would be a painting. It's blown up, extended. There are many areas where that could be worked. What a beautiful composition. It made just those two diagonals. The diagonal thrust of that is full of tension, and so if the fact that there are many paintings in one, I think that should begin to be part of what people perceive. And if you own a painting, if you bought it hurriedly from a kind of a gut reaction, you might get it home and begin over the years to find little bits and pieces. And if you can find something interesting in a painting for 10 years, it's a masterpiece. If you can tolerate it for 20, it will live forever. But it's those other little things that happen as you have a painting and begin to find sections, bits, pieces, an unusual juxtaposition of color. And all of that may just be an apologia for my complexities. So it's my own version of how I would like somebody to look at and get inside of my work a little bit and dig around a little bit.
It's not a question of a constant companionship. You know, when we both get busy, we know we exist And it's a very close comradeship. Probably also because we identify with a certain position. I think every artist thinks that they're unique or in some way, but I think Sid is unique in being part of a large or considerable movement, and yet, well, being of it and yet not being in it, really.
The three big shapes in nature are still very important to me. And I'm really not a landscape painter anymore, I don't think. And if I've come to, and I came to abstraction early, as a writer and critic, probably no one had more authority and was more believable to me than Harold Rosenberg. Mm-hmm. I think he was almost infallible if we go back and find things he said very early. And he was very abrupt with me and told me things he liked about my work and things he didn't. And when he visited me in Florida, he said, I see now what you're painting. When I'm here, I can see what you're up to more. Because he caught the difference in light and the kind of quality of color that I used there before others had realized it. But his loss, I feel very deeply. Mm-hmm. And I think he becomes more heroic. The great tragedy of two deaths sandwiched between my birthday was a shock. It was kind of a beginning period when I did a series of rather dark and different paintings. It's called the Sagaponic series.
It's pretty much a relative thing there, where each person has a certain kind of madness, you know, and this is kind of a medium in which the madness becomes a very marvelous social business, in the sense that many others recognize the same madness that they may have suppressed, see? And this gives them that lift, right. And that's the lift that I think that most people think they get when they deal with art. And everyone has their little bit, and it just goes as far as it goes, or does what it does. And the surrounding circumstances are arbitrary in terms of how they make those moves, I believe.
I might just go out with a brush and a bottle of ink and try to begin to make the kind of forms that I might use in a painting. What I'm trying to do is get into a painting. Any way I can trick myself into starting another painting is legitimate, I guess. But I would use water to do that, and I might take that shape and reverse it, because maybe I don't want it to look like a wave, and I might put another one in. But I'm beginning to make some forms that I like. They're rather Baroque, and I think much of Baroque and Rococo art comes from the shape of a wave, and some of the things that I've discussed here. The idea of water, it's fascinating to me, because the clouds are made from water and all the seas are water, and I don't know, there's something marvelous about it. And I also use water to conveniently wash away mistakes. If I didn't like any of this, I could wash it off. And I do that in my paintings. People around here must think I'm watering my painting.
About 25 years ago, I came to Sarasota to live, and almost the first person I met was, one of the very first I met was Sid Solomon. So he was both practically my first friend and my best friend in Sarasota. And unlike some early meetings and long-time acquaintanceships, it's a friendship that's lasted all these years. We're just as close today as we were then. And every time I see Sid, I have the same feeling that I had in the early days. I get from Sid tremendous feeling of supportive energy. I feel it in his work. I see it in his painting, and it's in his face, and it's in his whole life. I always feel good when I'm around Sid.
I was a soldier in Paris when the shocking news of Roosevelt's death came to the French people, and I've never seen such complete anguish and sorrow. I think he was the last great hope they had for a marvelous peace, and so on and so on. We all remember that period. But the faces were so fantastic that I wanted to draw them, and I ran and got a little box of colors and some paper, and I did these studies right on the street. When I travel, particularly if I get a little nervous in traveling and angry about the accommodations or whatever the sources of trouble are when you travel, I get some colors and some paper, and I try to put down what interests me.
Well, he's a fine fellow in the first place, an old friend of mine, and I really love him. And many things about him. One is he enjoys life as much as anyone I know. He enjoys food, he enjoys building houses, he enjoys his family, he enjoys his friends, he enjoys the North, he enjoys the South, he enjoys the sea, he enjoys the fields. He just is a man who's not inhibited about enjoying things. And above all, he enjoys his work. His work reveals him, what he's really like. And I would say is beyond being restless, and he's rebellious. I think he doesn't, he keeps tearing apart the organization of the world and reorganizing it and doing it differently. One of the most extraordinary things about his work is that the combination of colors. He combines colors in a way that I've never seen anywhere else. Colors that should not be combined and cannot be combined and are not combined by anyone else. He puts side by side, and the impossible becomes possible. I like his paintings very much, and he's fought uphill with them all the time, and that's just his nature. But at first he wasn't accepted or particularly liked, but people are getting to understand him more and more and more. And I would say he's just a natural rebel who likes the world. Most rebels don't. Most of them are sour and mean and sarcastic and nasty, but he's both rebellious and at the same time he's a hedonistic, and he's affectionate.